Hi, my name is Scott Holliday. I'm in Year 12 at the Billericay School and I'm going to be talking about what I have learnt about the technologies from the process of constructing my 2 to 3 minute opening sequence. I've decided to make a thriller genre opening sequence because that is my favourite genre and thrillers are very popular with the national and global audiences. My experience gained from watching thrillers has enabled me to understand the appropriate conventions, and so I believe I will be able to make a good opening sequence. At the beginning of my planning stage, I created a PowerPoint to later present to my class. This included possible titles, distribution companies, narrative, characters and location shots in order to get some feedback from this. Once I had received the feedback, I found myself completely changing the name from what I wanted it to be to something that the class and others thought was more relevant to the genre. This name was Eye for an Eye. This is both a well-known expression as well as having connotations of violence owing to its meaning from the Old Testament. Also, in the research and planning stage, we learnt about the democratisation of filmmaking. This is where anyone can just go and buy the camera and software to edit and make a film themselves, and put it on sites such as Vimeo or YouTube for the whole world to see. This is going to have a very big impact on the film industry in the future. The advent of platforms such as Vimeo has enabled a whole new genre of films to be created, for example short films. During the construction of my film, I learned how to use many different types of technology, and from this my skills have benefited massively, and I believe that I am comfortable with using all the software. To make my 2 to 3 minute opening sequence, I used a Canon Ligria FS19 with a 2.5 inch LCD screen so that I could see clearly what I was recording without having to look through a little hole. It also had a 37 times optical zoom so that I could zoom in and it wouldn't blur up too much. When making my preliminary task, I learnt how to write a script properly, which was easy to follow for the actors, although I didn't use a script during the making of my 2 minute film opening. This is a skill I will take with me and possibly use next year. I also learned how to set up and use cameras and tripods correctly. At first I found this hard, especially when trying to get good cuts in preparation for editing. However, though practicing my preliminary task, when it came to filming for my opening, I found this a lot easier and have ended up with some good cuts and editing that ran smoothly. Being able to cut and link clips together is also a good skill that I have picked up along the way of the editing process. Convergence is a big aspect. During my project, I used YouTube to look at some opening sequences from films of the same genre to get some ideas for my one. Tumblr was also used in the planning stages of the project to upload our research, diaries and evaluation questions so that it is easily accessible for my teacher to look at them and see where I am. In order to be able to edit correctly, getting the right visual image, I had to become familiar with the Apple Macs and the software on the Macs. Final Cut and iTunes have both played a part in the making of my preliminary and opening 2 minute film. Using these programs was complicated at first. For example, Final Cut was quite new to me, as I've only used it once before when making an advert in Year 9. But I didn't quite know how to use it, but I got some tips and hints from YouTube tutorials. I learned how to cut videos, how to make things lighter and darker, and change the sound to make it louder or quieter. Whereas with iTunes, I'm comfortable with it because I use it regularly at home to get my music and apps for my phone. I'm now able to use them at a good standard. I feel that it is shown throughout my film, and my skill level increase is shown clearly in the difference between both of my pieces. I also created a storyboard to help me prepare all of the camera shots and what I want to be in the mise-en-scene. The settings used in my opening sequence were a living room in a house, a bathroom and a hallway in another house. For this bathroom scene, I noticed that the lighting was a bit dark and you couldn't see much, so I used the colour corrector to make the scene lighter and easier to see the character. Other settings included the street for the stalking scene. These settings are vital to the storyline to establish the difference of settings to fit with the character. The lighting for the settings were used effectively to the character's lifestyle. For example, my main character's house in the living room, the lighting is quite dark with just a little bit of light to show his dark side that's taken over his loving and caring side. whereas in the other character's house and bathroom it is lighter to show that he's trying to find a new life and get over what he did. I did have to make it brighter on the settings with Final Cut to add more to the mood. This was simple and an effective thing to do. The sound in my opening sequence was pretty simple. I had a mixture of diegetic and non-diegetic sound, including dialogue and sound effects. I learned how to use the sound effects effectively by doing some research on YouTube to look at some thriller scenes from films and see what sort of sounds they used. I learnt that eerie, creepy sounds effects when getting someone's reaction is quite effective. To get the sound effects, I went on a website called www.freesound.org. This enabled me to search for a range of sound effects and choose the one that I think is suitable for my scenario. Overall, I have learnt a lot of things with regards to technology. I have learnt skills such as using a HD video camera and tripod effectively, and to manipulate my footage to suit the genre, and increase the verisimilitude of the scenes. I have also learnt that technological convergence aids the concept of democratization due to sites as YouTube and Vimeo.